Nick, thank you and the SMWW staff for putting another Doc Talk on. Gordon, thank you for taking time to come in. We're live from Las Vegas. What happens in Vegas goes into the SMWW family. I took my grandson to a baseball game in LA last night. We're going to hockey tonight, but we all know about soccer in Vegas, too. So I got a lot of history here, and I'm glad to be in. I want to welcome everybody, and good to see Hubert and a lot of our people around the world. Just a reminder, these Doc Talks are designed for you to ask questions. We'll do a little narrative and find out if Gordon really did go to high school and walk through his personal growth and professional life. And then we're going to have some fun and be ready for those questions. And Mikhail will come in and help facilitate any questions and answers about our company. We're here to help you. We always say adrenalize today and monetize tomorrow. We want everybody in this chat to be able to work in soccer in one way or another, and it's an exciting time. Gordon, thanks for coming in, and we're going to start right with my basic question after 30 years. Where'd you go to high school, and what'd you do after high school? Thanks for coming in, Gordon.
Thanks for having me, everybody. Thanks again
Yeah,
for taking time. Awesome platform. So excited to be part of it.
thank you.
Yeah, so I grew up in Orange County, California. I went to Huntington Beach High School. Our mascot was the Oilers. We are known for having a lot of oil in our area, so we have rigs and stuff. So not a great mascot, not a great logo, but that's where I went to high school. Growing up in Southern California, I started playing soccer at a really young age. Fortunate to have an immigrant father who came from Yugoslavia. And he kind of taught us a game once we started walking. So not as common growing up in my time as soccer was, but I was lucky to be, I feel like, ahead of the wave that came. And then everything for me kind of just built off of the back of the 1994 World Cup being hosted here. And that kind of ignited my passion seeing it in person.
Yeah. Where'd you go to college? What'd you do after high school?
So after high school, I went to college at Seton Hall University on a soccer scholarship, where I also
Wow.
got my degree in sports management. So kind of all full
Yeah.
circle.
And when you were playing, did you think about you wanted to work in soccer? Walk us through that first career step, because everybody in the room is looking at how you got started. You don't have to play the game to work in soccer. We know that. But I'm fascinated by your steps up from the pitch to your career path. Let's walk me through. What was your first step out off the pitch when you were in college and knew that you wanted to do something?
Yeah, I mean, it started early. I mean, my passion obviously playing was to become professional. But I feel like I had been fortunate in some ways where you might find it unfortunate to have injuries when I was young. So I suffered some pretty big ones when I was 18, 19, that were at that time year-long recoveries, where I started thinking, wow, if I don't come back, what am I going to do? So I really
Yeah.
put my mind on trying to get back and to keep playing at the highest level, which I was lucky to
Yeah.
do for a few years after graduating. But I always knew I had to get my degree in sports
Yeah.
management. I knew I had to build something to come off of. And then
Right.
when I played for about 4 years, I just felt like it was time for me to take the next step. And
Yeah.
having that fallback, it gave me, a little bit of at least
Yeah.
an idea of what it would be like. But I just had to take that leap of faith and try to take
Yeah.
whatever came. And fortunate for me, I moved back to California, and I thought I would take 6 months off to maybe just figure out my next steps. And within a week, I had a call, and it was, again, something we'll talk about a lot. Was just having a network and having people and having
Yeah.
contacts. And someone reached out and said, "Do you want to coach in the academy at LA Galaxy?" And I said, "Well, not necessarily my passion, but it is something that interests me." And I knew that I had taken my B license courses when I was playing, and I had
Yeah.
the credentials. I had the knowledge, and I just found it as an opportunity. I went out, I really enjoyed it, but I also knew in the back of my mind, it's an opportunity to get my foot in, and that's kind of why
Yeah.
how I took it.
How long did you stay in that role? Walk us through your career path.
Yeah, I stayed in that role for almost 2 years, and it started off as part-time, and it was one team, and it turned into three teams assisting. And I was just always honest. I was always open with my bosses and my peers, and I just said, I love it. I'm enjoying it. I'm applying myself. I hope I'm giving back in a way that the players can learn from my actual firsthand experience of knowing what is ahead. These kids were not in college yet. They've not played pro yet, and I wanted to share that real life experience. And so throughout that time, we trained and we practiced in the afternoon. So I had all the mornings free. So what I did, I spent time just trying to create ideas of how to better our program. And
Yeah.
academies in the US were really young at the time. So
Yeah.
what I did is I took time to create plans to illustrate ideas I had on how we could
Yeah.
get better. And I started presenting them. And our director at the time was like, wow, okay, now start implementing them. And I got more and
Yeah.
more chances. And And with chance, I could showcase myself, that I knew what I was doing, and ended up providing results at the end of the day that made us better. And that gave me the ability to be honest and open and work hard that I want to transition out of coaching into the
Mhm.
operations, into management. And I was given the opportunity after a lot of hard work, a lot of patience, and then a little bit of luck.
Well, let's talk about that. So, what was your latest run? I mean, I know, talk about your job now and the one previous to that, and then we're going to get in. I got a couple comments about World Cup soccer coming, etc., and then we're going to open up to questions. There's a lot of curious people in here,
Of
but
course.
walk me through the job you have today and the previous job, just so we can
Yeah.
see the stepping stones.
Yeah, for sure. I started as a part-time, employee making about $1,000 a month. And then I was just trying to always get myself in a position where I could grow through. And throughout that process, I was just given a little bit more, and every chance was an opportunity. And eventually in 20, I think it was 2015 season, I was given the opportunity to move into the soccer side where I always had dreamed of being. So took a few
Yeah,
years, and then I worked in operations, and then I was in player personnel, and now currently vice president of soccer operations, which is a position where I'm kind of overseeing the operational sporting side of the club. It's a lot of
yeah,
budgets, salary cap, it's
yeah,
contracts, player pathway, a lot of league communication, league meetings, connecting with clubs and agents, doing contracts. So
yeah,
in our league, it's a mix of myself, the
yeah.
general manager and technical director, and us
Right,
three are spearheaded with leading the club's
right,
direction on the soccer side, and how we connect that to the
yeah,
business side overall is partly of my
right.
job too.
And then before I go to the what you do in a class, and we'll take some questions here in in 5 minutes. But I have one question. Growing up in Kansas City and witnessing the late Lamar Hunt, I've always tell this story. But I sat in the stands as an athletic director at Southern Illinois University Edwardsville, and a young man named Clark Hunt was playing soccer at SMU. And I sat with the late Lamar and his wife, and we all know that he's really brought soccer to America. And we also know that the World Cup this time around next year, I think has some impact that we've never witnessed before. Talk a little bit about this upcoming World Cup, and then I want to ask you about the class, and then we'll open up to questions because this is about you and the students in here, not
For sure.
about me talking to you all hours. So talk about that impact of next year. In your opinion, what's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I talked about how much the '94 World Cup impacted me as
Yeah,
what I was a 10-year-old at the time. And
yeah,
to see it come back here, and to see how the game has changed is just so incredible. Especially looking at, we had no domestic league at the time. We had no
right,
MLS. We founded
right,
MLS on the back of that in 1996.
right,
And then I entered playing in the league, and I think we had 10 teams, and now we have 30.
yeah,
And
right,
there's competition to create new franchises. So
yeah,
the World Cup has obviously grown in size of teams and its stature, and it's in having it
yeah,
here now with even more eyes on the global game and more of a domestic league. It's only going to help obviously the sport in America.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think I talked to that. A lot of this is going to be, hopefully we as a country show well on the global scale
yeah,
that we can
yeah,
compete. But also at the same time, we're having the best players in the world visit in our stadiums. This is a huge chance of recruiting also these players who are playing at massive clubs to showcase what it's
no,
like to be in America.
right,
There's going
right,
to be obviously Canada and Mexico are hosting some, but as the tournament goes on and we finish most of the games in the U.S., it's an ability for us to showcase what it's like to live here, spend a month or 6 weeks in the States. So I think hopefully the
yeah,
tournament it goes off without a hitch, and everything goes as it will, and
yeah,
the games are entertaining, the fans are engaged and
yeah,
getting support, and hopefully everyone just
right,
rallies around our country, right? And hopefully the
yeah,
team gets that buzz, and when you get that buzz, they start thinking, "Wow, I like soccer. I didn't know there's a team
yeah,
an hour from my house." Like it's going to engage new fans, it's going to
right,
engage new young kids. Hopefully those young
yeah,
kids now can say like, okay, I have something
yeah,
to aspire to, and my avenue now
right.
is hopefully through my local club, and then I can go to the national team one day and play on that stage.
And being a Midwest American football guy and hated the game growing up, seriously, and understand today and the globalization, it's exciting. Gordon, talk just a little bit as one of our faculty, what you try to accomplish in those 8 weeks with students covering to get them in the ecosystem. Because what happened to you, we think we can create a Rolodex for other people. But talk a little bit about what you want to accomplish in the course, and then I'll have Mikhail come in and we'll bring in some questions. Raise your hand if you have questions after this question, because this isn't about us. This is about you. Go ahead, Gordon. Talk about the class.
Yeah, yeah. I think, well, first of all, I'm just so fortunate to have the platform to spend, an hour a week with so many people from around the world. It's global. I mean, the class
Yeah,
is not just in the US. it's meeting people from all around in different time zones. And luckily the classes are recorded. So if you can't make it or you're on a different time, you can watch it. So I really like to use this as a vehicle for the beautiful game that has given me so much. I've been able to travel the world to meet so many different people that you never would have imagined, and get to see places and do things. And by you doing this class, I'm trying to share my experience and my knowledge of over, I've been in the game now for professionally now in the sporting side for 15 years, but before that, my whole life. So I feel like I have a lot.
Did we losing Nick?
Appears so. Let's give it a
Okay,
second.
we'll be fine here. We're gonna go. We'll get him back in. Our next job is to get people back in, and of course, this is no different than any technology. We all handle that. I want to share. I'll bring Mikkel in before I go to Hubert with a question when we get Gordon back. But Mikkel, you've been part of the class and part of our faculty. Talk a little bit about until Gordon comes in what we try to cover in the class. And I want to thank everybody for this opportunity because it's exciting what's going on in soccer and the growth of it and the globalization. And we'll go to Hubert after Mikkel. Hubert's from France, one of our global ambassadors. But when Gordon was talking about international, we have 164 different countries representing our courses. We want to bring a Rolodex to all of you around the world. Mikkel, come in with kind of the update about our course and waiting for Gordon to come back in. Thanks, Mikkel.
Yeah, I think our classes really gives you guys an opportunity to enter into the world of sports, whether you want to become an agent, a scout. I know Mario, you took one of the courses too, right? So that's where you got started, right? So, and look, he took 4 courses, sorry. But right now he's an extremely successful agent. He represents multiple players, globally. So, and it's really, a stepping stone for your guys' career, right? Of course, we have great mentors, right? We have great mentorship. We have a great agent advisor program after you decided to join SMWW. But it's also, how badly do you want it, right? And I think that's where Gordon is actually calling me right now, so I'm going to mute myself. So
okay, let's go. I'm going to go to Hubert with your question, and I'll answer part of it, Hubert. And thanks for coming in and do your introduction, Hubert. You've been with us a long time.
Okay, I'll be quick. Hello, everyone. Thanks for letting me have this time. I'm only going to stay on till the half hour because it's 2 a.m. and I'm in France. I'm a global ambassador with SMWW. I'm a former professional basketball player for 15 years, primarily in France. I work with a company that I created that deals with marketing and development of sports, but focusing on NIL, French American partnerships, collaborations, specific focus on corporate culture. Big issue now with the internationalization. As Lynn says, you have to get a ticket to get in the game. I currently work day to day with professional soccer, with a soccer team in an academy level in France, first division, FC Lorient, and also with Africa, with the Ivory Coast, and directly with their president of that team. I put the question I had. There's multiple questions. I just kind of threw it out there for everyone to kind of dive into.
In, so go ahead and ask the question. Ask the question for Gordon. He's back in.
Some key points I like to develop and ask. Identifying a growing issue of concern within my academy and with the players I deal with, foreign youth prospects. The concerns are specifically about France and Africa and the dichotomy between the European approach to players' career and the US model, which is completely different, as you know. The cultural distinction and divide. How do players make a decision? Do I leave to go to the US for college, maybe pro? Or do I stay and roll the dice and maybe get cut from my team and not have a chance to play professionally in Europe?
Gordon, I'm glad you got back in. You need to pay your bills. We'll try to give you a pay raise. We know what happened, but Hubert has great questions, and I love that question. I think it's applicable to everybody in here. Go ahead, Gordon.
I came in the middle of it. If you don't mind, just
go ahead and ask it shortly. Hubert, go ahead and ask it again.
Tighten it up. Players who are youth prospects at the international level who are under the FIFA, excuse me. If they're going to stay in Europe and risk trying to make it, but I have an option to go to the US, which is a completely different model. When do I start that process? Determining my path, preparing, as a prospect, maybe going abroad. What information should I seek and how should I prepare that with my family to make that choice?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Good. No, it's a good question. It's something that's, in the What's funny is that this was always an opposite question that we had, right? How do the American kids go play in Europe, right? So
Yeah.
it's actually a privilege to be in a conversation where people are looking at the U.S. as a destination for soccer. So I'll first put it that way. I think that, in Europe, traditionally, when the players get through, they get their academies and they're starting to get to like 16, 17, 18, that's when decisions are made whether they're going to get their pro offer or not. It's actually sped up even more these days where, seeing 16, 17-year-olds are making their debuts. Once they get through that time and they see they're either on the pathway or they're maybe not, there's different avenues. And I think one thing in the U.S. that's so different than the rest of the world in soccer is that college is a massive entryway. And I think the NCAA men's soccer or women's soccer side has really opened the doors for so many international players that it kind of has swung, kind of more towards the middle of being a lot of foreign, a lot of domestic, because of how the academies in the U.S. now in soccer have their own professional academies where most of the players now are not going to college if they're in an academy. So it's opened up the doors for a lot of foreign players, and that doesn't end there. That then allows them to get into the draft for the MLS, allows them to get seen for other clubs. So what I would say is that, you're looking at either trialing, coming in to use contacts to try out with clubs, or trying to find an avenue through college. Every year, we are continually surprised by these players who come through, and then two of them just absolutely pop, and then they're sold within a year or two for millions of dollars. So, as it may be hard coming into the league as an international player, I would say a lot of teams are spending a lot of time watching college games for international players.
And Gordon, before I go back and start raising your questions, raise your hand. But Gordon, this NIL and transfer portal, I know there's football and basketball, but it's impacting in soccer. There's families that would like to see their child or their son or daughter get into a college degree and still play professional soccer. It's really it's such chaos right now out there in the world. It's such a global identification. Mikkel, do you want to come in and ask a follow-up? And Hubert, do you have one last question before you go to bed at this late at night? And by the way, we archive our chats, so people that are in different time zones, they can pick it up anytime. So Hubert, your follow-up, and I'll give that mic to Mikkel. And thanks again, Gordon.
Thank you.
Just an example. One of my students that I had at the academy, he was the second division leading scorer, and now he's in the Premier League. He was 16 when he signed his contract, but he was not a great student. He wasn't focused on education at all. But we have a host of other students and kids who are really good, but they're not good enough to make it in Europe. And they're asking the question, is there another option? There is, but when do we make that decision? Because they need at least 12 months headway to prepare and make sure they're ready psychologically, mentally, and physically for the level of the university level in the US.
Yeah. No, I would say that there's not a one way answer to that. It's all case by case. Each player is physically, emotionally, mentally developing at a different time, especially when it comes to tactically and technically as well. So I think you have to take it on case by case. And then you also, coming in as a international, you have to be prepared on what's the avenue of getting in. Is it through a contract so they can get a visa that way? Is it through school so they can get an educational visa? Obviously, it's not as easy as just saying, I'm going to come in and come try out. It has to take steps of getting all those things lined up. So they're just, it's continually just building, contacts with clubs and with individuals. It's about obviously having hopefully an agency or using an agent that helps with placing them on trials, or maybe, sharing video clips or player profiling. Also having connections within clubs to know what they're looking for. And I think that with the growth of the USL and MLS having second teams, there's just more opportunity for teams to take, I guess, quote unquote, risk with players who are young to see if they can make it through the pipeline.
Gordon, before I pass the mic to Mikkel, I just want to remind everybody, NIL is a very popular course applicable to all sports, and name, image, and likeness. We're finding athletes all over the world that are interested in name, image, and likeness. The government's kind of lifting the restrictions of international students getting name, image, and likeness. It's having a seismic effect on basketball. It's having a seismic effect on hockey, and I think it's going to have a seismic effect worldwide on soccer, because getting an education and making a few dollars is really crazy about there. Mikkel, I'll pass the mic to you. You're the expert. You're another professional soccer player. I'm the football, basketball, baseball guy, and I wouldn't play soccer because we didn't have soccer back in Kansas City back then. So I'm still going to counseling about what kind of a soccer player I would have been. But come on in, Mikkel, and thanks for taking over and handling our soccer department.
No worries. Well, Gordon, thank you again for taking your time, and good to see you. Yes, I just want to have a couple of questions for some of the people that are on this chat here who don't necessarily have a background in soccer. You know, what are some ways to get into soccer itself? You know, whether it be in the front office, whether it be in starting like you did at an academy, or what are some ways they can partake in joining the avenue?
Yeah, I mean, I get asked a lot, for advice or informational interviews, and what I say is that at some point you have to just take an opportunity, however it comes. And I'm a perfect example of that. The first job you're going to get is never going to be your dream job unless you're super fortunate. So it's just about exercising every avenue we're available to. We have so much information in our hands that we didn't have 20, 30 years ago. So whether it's taking courses, whether it's going to conferences, we have a lot of annual events that you can go to and attend, attendees going to see speakers, maybe just going to games. At the end of the day, you really need to network yourself and keep building up your contacts. And then finding an opportunity just comes in any ways. It could be grassroots, it could be through college, it could be through the clubs, it could be through professional academies or professional clubs. It could be through the federation. I mean, there's so many different bodies that work together and together to make one unified sport in our country. And I speak from my experience here in the States that it's never been so exciting and growing so fast. So I think that the opportunities are growing. I talk about how many departments there are now that there weren't when I played. I'm talking about player care. We're talking about cognitive performance, the amount of money putting into medical strength and conditioning and rehab stuff. I mean, the sport has changed. The players have need so much more in terms of just their bodies and staying fit. When it comes to wearing GPS units and doing physical data analytics is becoming big. So I think that we're only seeing more and more opportunity. It's now just about finding the way in and then trying to find where your home is after that. I would be less concerned about finding the dream job up front, just trying to get into a position where you can showcase yourself, showcase your skills. And then from there, I think with time and patience, you'll be able to find the avenue that fits best.
And absolutely, and I think what you just touched upon a little bit ago, conferences, right? Part of what we're doing here is networking, right? And you're only as big as your networks. Obviously, if you have a small network, your business is going to be small. If you're a larger network, that's where you could become more successful. So we have one, as you know, Gordon, that we're planning one at CVI, and just want to see if there's any information, guys. I mean, obviously, the tournament itself has been a tremendous success over the past couple of years when you guys started it. And how important is it for some of these people that are on here right now to join or to attend a career conference like that? When they get to meet guys like yourself or any experts within the field.
Yeah, I mean, the foreshadowing of us hosting an event around Coachella Valley Invitational in February is what our plan is, and we're trying to host a great conference where we can bring everyone from soccer leadership, from staff to employees to players to those who want to get into the game. We would like to host it around our preseason event that we have out in the desert in California. Early Feb. It's an event that's super incredible because we have 16 to 24 professional teams all in one space. Secluded there only for one thing, is preparation for the season. The fields are incredible. You have the players will walk right past you. The staff is there. When we host these events, you're getting to now talk face to face. It's so much different than an email, than a text, than a call, than a Zoom call. You get to put a face to a name. You get to exchange information. You just get to meet a lot of people, and that for me is so important because it's funny, the soccer world is growing, but it's so small. And once you get into it, you're going to find somebody through somebody, this person or that person, and then you kind of build more relationships, and they all start kind of compounding. So it's just important to get there in person. And I know there's costs associated to it, and it's time, and it's away from family and job and life, but it's an investment that I think pays off because at the end of the day, like you said, I mean, the network in the sport is massive. In any avenue you go, whether it's scouting, becoming an agent, working in the front office, working in any part, you have to have those contacts to continue to grow.
Yeah, and again, networking, the way we met Gordon, through some of our colleagues and now working on certain projects, and now you're here with SMWW. So, I really appreciate everything you've done, just for SMWW, and it's always been a pleasure working with you. I'm going to go over some questions. David has a question. David.
How you doing, guys? David
Hey, David.
DeRico. My background, I've known Dr. Lashbrook for many, many years, been following SMW, and I was a former captain of the U.S. national team, played against Pelé, Cruyff, Beckenbauer, Carlos Alberto, Georgie Best. Jeff Hurst was my teammate. So I've seen all iterations of all these things going on. We have a ticketing platform. We're selling 50,000 events a year in the top European, US soccer, all major US sports, F1 and concerts, United States, Canada, and Europe. And we're going to be selling tickets to the 2026 World Cup. Also, we've got a directory platform we're getting ready to launch. It's going to be absolutely amazing. And I wanted to reach out to Hubert because you're working with teams in France and Africa, and we're working with 55 African nations in terms of building what we call a cultural community, like a directory, but also involved in soccer and sports. And I think the timing of
David, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. What you should do is get David's Hubert's contact information through chat, and then have a conversation with him about this off this meeting. Okay. I do appreciate you coming in, though, Bill.
Yeah, it's just great to see what's happening. Gordon has been familiar, him and his brother, but the growth, I mean, these parents coming in with billion-dollar projects now, it's just extraordinary. I mean, it's really mind-boggling, but there needs to be a lot of coordination and people working together because everybody's, for the most part, is just doing everything individually instead of having a group to guide people. I mean, you got Reyna, he's 22 years old, and he's going to be an owner of one of the top teams right under MLS. 22 years old. So,
all right, David, thank you so much for your input, man. We're going to go next question. Bunyamin.
Thank you so much. Hi, Gordon. Thank you so much for all that you've shared so far already. I had a question more about, when you look back at your journey from where you started, where you are now as a VP in the operations side, because I'm in the operations too, but in the corporate world, not so much in the soccer world, even though that's where my passion is and eventually want to make the step. I was wondering, when you look back at your own journey, are there some things you say that, I wish I maybe would have done this and this differently to maybe, and of course, everything happens for a reason, right? That's why you're here today. But are there some things when you think back that you think I could have done differently and it would have helped me maybe in different ways? Just wondering about that.
No, it's a good question. And thank you for hopping in. What I would say is that I look back on it, and I think going into the workforce as a non-player, I was so scared. I just didn't know what the future was, and I think I was just probably like overthinking it, and I just didn't know where it would go or how I would get there. And I think I probably put too much impetus on that. I think if I look back on it, I would have just let things happen naturally, and they did, and I'm lucky in that. But I think at the time, I probably was too hard on myself of like being so worried about how it would go. But what I would say in my experience, and I look at it, I would say I have certainly learned so much more from all of the hard times and the bad results and the bad things that we've gone through than I have from winning. And that's just the reality of it. Like, as you go through rough patches in any part of your job or your life, it's like you learn and pull more from that. So I'm thankful for the experiences of where things, maybe didn't go perfect. I mean, I've been lucky to have now been a part of, I think, 4 MLS Cups since I've joined, which is, obviously a lot, and I've learned a lot from those winning years, but you learn more from the down years. And it's just something I take from my experience that I hope that I can share, that it's not always a bad thing when you go through some of the hard times and the challenges. It's about the growth, it's about getting back up, and it's about taking the positives from them.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think this season is a perfect example of that, Gordon. Right? So, how do you as a VP, how do you navigate through that after coming off an MLS Cup, and now pretty much due to certain rules and regulations, you're in a situation that you kind of don't have control over.
Yeah. I mean, it's not easy, and we can make excuses and reasons, but at the end of the day, it's still not good enough. And we all have to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, what could we have done better? And that's what we're doing, is how could we have navigated even with the challenges we had and coming off of the success of winning? Yes, of course, in our league built off of parity and hard salary caps and contract situations and bonuses that hit your salary cap the following year. All these mechanisms come together and make it hard. And the goal is to have, all 30 teams every year have a chance at winning. And that's the beauty of it, which makes it so hard, which is why in 30 years of the league being around, there's only been us with having 6 cups is the highest. So it's not like you're going to win every year, and you're not going to win by spending the most money. That's definitely not going to happen. So I think we have to look at it and say, okay, now what are the pauses we can do? What we're doing now is really developing young players and trying to get them minutes and get them ready for the future. I think we've really put some time into some of our young kids. We've shown that our second team has developed players now for the first team. I think we are looking bright from our academy standpoint. Our under 18s over the summer had won the cup for the academy. I think we have a bright future coming through the pipeline. So while it all may seem, at the end of the day, the first team results are everything, we also see positives in the future. And I think that's what at least gives us a little bit of, brightness ahead. We have good young players coming through. We have a lot of money to work with going into next season. And we've already had, we spent the whole year preparing for January, and I think we're going to be in a position to be good. So we're not too worried, but we're not happy.
Well, there's always a silver lining in this, right? So the fact that you were able to give academy players, an opportunity to prove themselves, which is perfect. Kristen, you have a question?
Hi there. I do. Thanks for having these things. I just discovered you guys. I'm kind of in the midst of a desired career change, and soccer's been my passion my whole life, but I'm currently a therapist. So I'm trying to figure out, it's like the like, how do I get to finally do my passion? And so I'm signed up for the analytics course. I haven't done anything yet, but I guess my question is, because that's what I'm interested in, I think, is analytics, player development, things like that. Is there something that you see as a need in that area, or something that is kind of coming, that I can be looking for, that I can be talking about in informational interviews as I try to build a network? Because I'm in the place, I'm like, I need to build the skills, and then I need to build the network if I'm gonna break in, as it were. And I'm primarily interested in the women's game, but open to anything, as you said, to start with.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm just curious, as I just brand new, what should I be paying attention to in the analytics part of the deal?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first, I would say we definitely have a need for therapists, and that's not something I would not start getting away from that too much. I mean, I think it's not something even to be joking about, just because it's so true. I mean, we have to realize now that these players are on a platform making so much money, and they with the changing structure of social media and the accessibility to these athletes, you may think it's like, they're impermeable to getting hate or messages or getting down. These athletes are just humans like us, and I think that a lot of players have lives and they have families and they go through ups and downs like everyone else, and we lean on help from that outside all the time. We currently don't have someone full time just working in psychology space or there. We have a cognitive department where it helps with like firing the brain and activity and getting that muscle strong, but we don't have somebody, we outsource that. So I think in the future, clubs are going to be investing in that space, because I think having somebody in-house will not only be useful for the players, but for the staff and for the front office and for everyone. So I see that being a trend, because mental health has become so important, and people are finally able to talk about it. And I think that's good, especially for players who coming through hard times or hard games or facing racial abuse and all this stuff. It's end of the day, we forget a lot that they're just humans like us, and they may be paid a lot of money, and sure, they may miss a goal, but it doesn't mean that they can get treated like the way they do. So I have a soft spot, and I think that it's important that we keep that conversation going. In terms of data analytics, it's big and it's growing, and it's just getting quicker and quicker in acceleration. We're in the process of building out our whole new revamped data department. We brought somebody in who is kind of a pioneer in that space, and I think from looking at that whole department collectively, it's got huge upside. I think it's still at a point where we're still, as a sport, trying to find the best way to apply it, right? And whoever can do that the best will find the smallest margins. And in my classes, I talk about everything that we do, if we can find 1% advantage in any area, it just continues to add up and compound. And I think that data analytics is huge because you're taking in data and you're analyzing it from so many different angles. It could be contract data, it could be physical data, it could be performance based, it could be all these things. You have to be able to put them together and to create something that actually makes sense. And that's what we're working on, is compiling, aggregating, and then creating one go-to all that has past performance, injury history, physical data, sprints, distance covered, salary data, age, so then you can kind of predict and help us from scouting, but also help us on injury prevention, recruiting. So I think it's a big space, and I think the ones who invest in it the most and create the best system for themselves will be the most beneficial, especially in, like I say, in a salary cap world where every dollar goes super far.
Right.
I hope that helps.
Great question, Kristen. Hope that was the answer you're looking for.
Yeah, it's helpful, and I appreciate the thoughts on mental health too. I mean, I agree. I just know it's not something that clubs are hiring for at the moment, and so.
Oh, you'd be surprised. Sports psychology is a big department.
And that's either I need to go to grad school for sports psychology and I'm kind of wanting to get into the soccer side. But so I appreciate your thoughts about that, and I'm just I'm looking forward to learning more. So thanks.
Good stuff. Thank you for your question. Jason.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yep.
Great. Thanks for taking the time. This is going to be a pretty general question, and you may have addressed it a little bit earlier. But so based on your background, Gordon, do you think it'd be better to get a holistic understanding of a soccer organization through different roles, or to specialize early?
Really good question. I think it just depends on what is your deep passion. Like, what is the one thing that you ultimately want to get to? And then it may be different for that answer, because if your goal is to be in sponsorship, you're probably not going to want to start on the sporting side, right? So maybe you want to focus more on an opportunity in the business side that can probably get you there a little quicker. So I guess at the end of the day, you have to figure out what is inside of you, what really, really is your long-term goal. And then that kind of helped guide you from the onset. At the same time, though, like I said, opportunities don't always just come so easily, right? You have to always just try to find and build your own way. So it just depends on kind of where you are. It depends on your location. It depends on what's your ability to move. It's just, working in sports is hard because you have to be willing to work the weekends. You have to be willing to miss a lot of things. We're in entertainment. Every game's on a Saturday night. Coming home late, you're traveling a lot, missing so many birthdays and big events, and that's something you have to that you're sacrificing coming into it. So depending on where you kind of see yourself and your passion, that can help guide you a little bit. So if you have any idea, I can maybe help you a little bit that way.
Sure. So I'll give you a little bit about my background. I had worked with the Revs, with Hartford Athletic, in MLS Next as a coach. Now the technical lead for a state association. So now I'm trying to get a bigger, holistic understanding of the soccer landscape here in the US and how to use that information for what's next. Because I don't want to keep this job for 20 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
of course.
Next.
Well, with how much you've already done in the sport, I have to imagine you have worked with or come across people in very different roles in clubs and federations. So what I would then do is just try to be open and honest and start having conversations and say, hey, can we grab a coffee in person? Can we set up a call? That's where you should start, and just start picking their brain on their areas and try to find people in different parts of the clubs, right? So maybe one person you speak to is in, technical side. Maybe one person you speak to is in performance. And then I think as you pick, people that and you have built, and those conversations can lead to future conversations through those people too. So I would just start that with trying to have coffees, trying to have conversations, trying to learn from people who are in it, and then you can go from there.
All right, great. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Anytime. Mr. Mann, up next. You're on mute, brother. Try to mute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, man.
Okay, my name is Jibrin. I did play in South Africa. I played in Albania as well. 26 years old, just turned 26 a few days ago. And my question is, to Gordon, is there at any point where the American soccer system, in terms of the tier, in terms of the relegation, in terms of the academy system, is there any point whereby they're trying to switch to the standard European system? You understand? whereby you have the relegation and the promotion, and you have the players working through, I mean, MLS and championship. Is there any plan in the conduit? Is there any plan in the pipeline as to that? And the second part of it, I don't know, maybe there's a system, but I find it very weird whereby when the MLS team want to look for players, they go into soccer teams, I mean, into college teams, then into ULS Championship and League One, League Two. I mean, we've seen players in the lower league in Germany walk up to the Bundesliga. We've seen players in the League One walk up to the Premier League. Is there any plan as to changing those sort of ideological regulations, if I'll say?
Yeah, I mean, thank you. Good question. And, pro rel is a huge topic in US soccer in general. It's going to happen in the USL in 2027, I think is their targeted start date. They're going to start promotion relegation between their, whether they change the name of the leagues or not. But right now, as it stands, the championship and League One, they might change the names of it, but they'll adopt a pro rel. The USL and MLS operate completely independently, and there's not really a formal partnership. So that's where the logjam happens after that. I don't think, and I don't envision, and I'm again speaking just my feeling that MLS will ever adopt promotion relegation. I think it's going to be, at least in the next decade or two. I don't see it happening. I think that so many people in MLS, so many owners, has put in so much money over just trying to keep this thing moving and going, that if a team, let's just say the last team that came in, like San Diego, paid $500 million to enter and then spent probably another $500 million building out a training facility and building out all this stuff. Are they going to say, all in, I spent $1 billion and then within 5 years I could lose it all? I don't think that they're going to vote for that. Our system is different in MLS. It's very unique, single entity, owner operated. So it's a little different, and the US is just different than the rest of the countries in soccer, where our sports are big, like basketball, baseball, football, hockey, where we don't have it in those sports either. So I don't see it happening in MLS, which does, again, kind of like you said, yes, players can come through the USL pipeline through other leagues. We have quite a few leagues besides USL and MLS, but I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Good
Right,
question.
thank you.
And then up next, JFK. Interesting. JFK. Do you have a question?
Hey, Miguel.
What's your name?
John. Oh, you forgot about me already?
John, your name is Lily John F. Kennedy?
No.
Okay.
John F. Quatic.
Okay.
Yeah, so obviously I came through the sports agent program with Miguel and Sky. My question is, I've been hearing a lot of rumbling in different places in Europe and other places about the current immigration policies that are going on over here, and saying that it may or may not affect the World Cup and the MLS, USL moving forward. What are your guys' advice, or what would you think? Do you think it does or not?
Well, I guess I'll speak about the World Cup first. What I think, I don't know, but I hope that it doesn't affect anything. I hope it allows the people who are using soccer as the vehicle to share like hope and to have fun and to root on their country can do that all together in harmony and in peace. I hope that we can be, between USA, Mexico, and Canada, can just be the place that it all happens. That's my hope. I hope that, if there are restrictions on certain countries, that maybe there are exemptions made for those who want to attend their country's matches. There are examples of teams that may play in this World Cup that may not qualify for 20 or 30 or 40 more years. And that person who has lived for so long to want to see them play in a World Cup may not have that opportunity again. So in that regard, I hope that common sense prevails. And I hope that with the conversations between FIFA and governments and the bodies, they can figure that out. That's my hope. And I hope that it all goes off, like I said, smoothly. There's obviously issues around a lot of things in our country, but I hope that, again, this doesn't divide us. The soccer game just unites us like it always has. It brings together, like I said, people from so many different places. And I truly believe it'll be special. So we'll see. That's obviously just a hope. I have no control over what the decision is. I only hope that if I had to put in my opinion, I would say, let's make it available for us. all to enjoy, and hopefully in beautiful stadiums and beautiful cities, and that the fans that are playing each other can not fight, and hopefully they can celebrate and just, put it aside for 90 minutes during the game. In terms of the leagues, I don't think that it's going to affect much in terms of like long-term or short-term in terms of us getting players. I think that, with sport, we have such an advantage of having these athletes on P visas, which are, their extraordinary ability, they're professional, they're performers, they're artists. We luckily are so privileged to be able to have, the ability to get expedited appointments, to use sport as our platform for these visas. So I don't take it lightly. I work on immigration a lot, and I understand when we send our guys in for appointments and they get in, we're very lucky. There are people in countries that wait years just to get a visitor visa if they're not lucky enough to come on ESTA. So I get it, and I don't think it's going to affect us, at least right now, how things are going. Maybe the processing times we've seen are way longer, but getting the player in eventually, I think it's just going to happen.
Yeah, and that's something you got to talk to your players, especially in Africa, right? West Africa, when they, let them know, if there's not an appointment made yet on the team's behalf, if there's a level of interest, go make an appointment yourself, because those normal wait times, you're looking about 6 months, just to get an appointment. Okay. David.
Hi, hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm David
What's up, David?
Castellon, and nice to meet you guys, Mr. Michael, Ms. Gordon. Calling me an American here from Washington, D.C. I just had two quick questions. The pay-to-play system that really goes through, like, I guess the roots of U.S. soccer in a way. Do you guys think that system will ever go away? Especially with the U.S. being and the MLS being a country of like immigrants, people literally coming here from all over the world, but they may not necessarily have the money to let their son, who has a talent, let's say, to be an MLS player. What would you guys do with those, like with their families and their kids who have the talent but not necessarily the financial means to like attend like college or like pay for all these, really excessive fees to for their son or daughter to play at like in the WN, like the women's league, or like yeah. And also this is a bit of a silly question. If any of you guys know any executives or front office people that run DC United, maybe you guys can give them some pointers on how to win, because it's been that team has been a disaster. I'm 26 years old, and my grandpa still tells me about the times of El Diablo Echeverri still to this day. And he said they'll never, like, no sirven para nada, nothing. Like, if you guys could, like, please just hit them up and like give them some pointers, I would greatly appreciate it. And thank you for your time.
Before Gordon, I just want to let everyone know, it is pay to play. It's not just here in the US, it's everywhere. Okay. Kids, back home in my home country in Holland, I started with a club that had to pay fees to enter into and pay for my uniform, right? So it just does not happen just here, because we have to start somewhere. We cannot just go. When I got recruited for PG Eindhoven in the academy, I was 12 years old. Prior to that, I still had to pay to play football for a club team, my local club team. So yeah, it happens everywhere. Okay, not at this level here in the US, but it happens everywhere. Sorry.
Okay, I did not know that. Okay, I appreciate that. Say thank you.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, I think it's probably just a little bit more accelerated, or probably more commonly spoke about in the US because of just our sheer population, and also the cost that we are paying are probably way higher than people are paying elsewhere, whether it's subsidized or just the cost of operating for renting fields or paying for equipment. And I think that's where it gets hard. What I would say though is that while we can't change that right now, there are still opportunities for people from low incomes, and I think starting at a grassroots level and even getting into clubs. I mean, youth clubs that are amateur that you're paid to play, there also are scholarship spots. And at the end of the day, quality will prevail, as long as they're being exposed and they're being shown. And I think that's important. When a player comes through, maybe they may not be, it depends on where they are, but hopefully, the story can be told, and they have set aside money where, 1 or 2 players, typically down here where I am, they have scholarship to bring quality to the team. And I think that's subsidized by the other members that are paying full. So I think that's it's great. I don't think that our model is by any means perfect. At the same time, the countries that do lower cost or try to eliminate costs, the federation really steps in and helps out a lot. And I think that's something that we as a federation probably need to grow in our revenues to set aside for grassroots soccer development. That comes when we start winning, selling larger sponsorship deals, more TV right media stuff, and that will help, I think, trickle down hopefully to the grassroots. But I always say this, and especially in my classes, we need more coaches. We need better coaches. We need better coaching education. They're the ones teaching our players. They're the ones that are building the next generation. So that's important for me, is that these players play, but they're also getting coached. And lastly, about DC, yeah, it does pay me, even as a non-supporter of the club. A club that has that much history, they have the second most MLS Cups in MLS history. It's crazy to think about, right? They have 4, and they have second most behind LA Galaxy with 6. So it is crazy to think, that is a historic original with so much history. They've also built a brand new stadium that's really nice, and it has the potential to be what it was. And I hope that, as they just hired their new sporting director last week, or I think they announced him on Friday, that he can come in and turn this thing around. So I have hopes that the Dr. Erkut Sogu, who just got hired, German-Turkish guy with background in teaching and agency work, will hopefully bring in his expertise to turn that franchise around.
Okay, thanks again.
All right, one more question, Nuvi. Then we're gonna let Gordon go.
Oh, okay. My question is, what qualities do you value most in young players who hasn't come through a traditional academy? And how can you, for example, as a squad, best present such a player to the club for consideration?
If I'm looking at a young player, let's just pick a player who's, let's say 14. I'm looking at a player at that age. I'm looking for the technical side and the mental side to be higher than just what their physical profile is. I think we often overlook the ability for these players to grow. We're looking for players who develop early. We need to look at players who have the tactical IQ with the technical part of their game that can grow in due time. I think that we have so many different ages where players develop, and we have to be able to see that each one on a case by case, whether they're ready or not, based off their age, equality. You should play based off your quality, not off your age, is what I think. And so I'm looking at players who understand the game, who love the game, who have a good mentality, that the game's not about them. They play it as it comes to them, and they see the game quicker than the others, and they're able to technically do it at a different level. We can teach them tactics eventually when they get in an organized environment, but you can't teach sometimes this natural ability that certain players have. So that's for me is what I would say. I would say let's not get too focused on the biggest guy or the fastest guy. Let's try to teach the ones who have such great technique and skills and vision and mentality. And then when you get older, it's different, right? When you're buying a player for millions of dollars, you don't necessarily have time for that. So you have to then change your recruiting approach. And that's what we talk about in our courses, that recruiting and scouting and all this stuff is all dependent on the player you're looking for, what position, what profile, what age, what team they're going to, academy, second team, or first team. It all depends. And there's so many variables that you have to take into consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your question. Gordon, thank you so much for being here, for dedicating an hour to be with us and answer all these questions. I know you're a busy man, so we're gonna let you go here. And then if everybody else have any questions that I can answer for you guys, we can go ahead and do that. But yeah, if you gotta go, Gordon, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna take one more if that's okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Kwame, can we do Kwame, Nick?
Yeah, Kwame, unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Well, I'm interested in coaching. I've been beating myself so much over the years, wondering where it was going to end me up. But then finally, I feel this is the time. And then I'm new here, and it's a different environment for me altogether. But then I just want to find out Where do I start from? Because I really want to do it to the very top, to the very top. So where do I start from? And then also, are there any sponsorship in place that I can tap into? Thank you.
Good question. Thanks for the insight, and good luck on the future, and hopefully you find your path. I think I said this before. Right now, we've never had so much access to information at our fingertips that is basically for free. So what you need to do in the meantime, while you're still trying to figure out where you can get hands-on experience, is just trying to understand everything you can find that's out there. There are documentaries, there are YouTube videos, there are PDF booklets about coaching and tactics, and I think you can start with a base, which is just investing in yourself, which is time. I think we can learn almost anything at any time by just using what's free on the internet. I'm not saying that everything you're going to find is right or wrong. It's just going to give you a baseline of what the teachings are by different people, right? And then you have to then apply it and then use those methodologies in person. So you have to find access to players that you can train with and give to. So at some point, I mean, you have to start probably just by just volunteering, and that's just the reality of it. With a little bit of experience or no experience, it's going to be hard to get into a high level, but you're gonna have to work and grind through the levels. And I think that's comes with getting some badges, so you have some credentials. At a minimum, you have to have some type of credential to coach as you move up the levels, because they create these rules and barriers, because they want to ensure that people have passed background checks, that they have done their safe sport, that they also have the baseline education to teach the future players that we're training. So those are things you have to slowly work towards. Again, that's an investment that's going to take time and money. In the meantime, just continually learning, having conversations, observing a lot, going to trainings, trying to watch the top at their job work, take notes, interview them, just try to gather everything you can. And then you got to start applying it. And that's just starting again, low level club teams, grassroots, maybe taking on a youth club. Again, that can lead into an older club, and then maybe getting into high school, then getting into college, and then slowly getting into the levels of, semi-pro, professional, and that pathway. The pyramid is huge. You can skip steps. You can go straight to certain levels. You can take all the steps. It just depends on like you said, like we talked about, timing, hard work, and a little bit of luck.
Okay.
Thank you for your question. Can we do one more, Gordon?
Yep.
Garcia, last one for the night.
I have a question. I mean, we allow US.
Garcia.
Yeah, I'm trying to put the camera on. Can you guys see me?
No.
I can hear you though.
Yeah, I'm trying to click the camera, but it's not going. Yeah, I just asked. All right, my question is just basic question. So my biggest question was about the recruitment. How you guys find the players for the transfer? I heard about Mateo Nascimento, the new signing, that it was something that you guys put him. I mean, you guys find him in the app. He was on loan from Botafogo, and you guys went to the app and find him. So I'm more curious about how you guys look for players and recruit them.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the app is that both of our clubs were on the platform called Transfer Room. I think Transfer Room uses a lot of success stories when players make movement between the teams. That transfer is not done just through the app. I mean, the reality is that it's a part of many things that we use to aggregate information and collect information, to have communication, to see players. Yeah, at the end of the day, what we do is we have so many different avenues. We're using our data analytics team. We're using all of our scouts that we have. We have depth charts that we've going over. We're talking to other clubs that we have relationships with. We're talking to agents that we work with. We have people that we have that live in the US and people that live abroad that we send to tournaments. We have, luckily, in our staff, one of our up in the front office staff is Brazilian, ex-player of ours, and he has contacts throughout Brazil. So in every situation, it's different. In an ideal world, yeah, you are going to be doing all the legwork and you're going to create your list and you're going to attract a player, and then that player comes. But sometimes these things happen quickly based off of timing or just sheer luck, like I said before. But in this case with him, a player that had, when he was 18, was, I think every club in the world was linked. I think he was linked to Real Madrid. He's a super high talent. He signed in Botafogo, and he started playing a little bit here and there. Was not necessarily the number 9 starter. High upside potential. We ended up doing a deal with a loan with an option to buy. Again, the club in Brazil sees our platform as an opportunity for him to get showcased, whether we buy him or not. He's come in. He's done a really good job, and this winter we're going to have to make a decision, and that's part of the process and development. And in every case, it's completely different. But we have so many different avenues that we use to compile them.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Gordon. And Chrissy, hopefully that kind of answered your question. All right, Gordon, now we're going to let you go for real this time.
Thank you, guys. I'm sorry about the snafu earlier, getting kicked out. I didn't know what happened, but anyhow, appreciate your time. I know wherever you're coming from, it's evening time most likely, and thanks for taking it with me. And again, try to use the sport of soccer as a vehicle to keep moving things along. And wherever your paths go or wherever they go, I'm sure at some point we'll see each other, run into each other. It's a small soccer world, but again, never stop learning, never stop pushing, and keep growing the game together. Thank you.
Thanks, Gordon.
Yeah, so now's a good time. If you guys have any questions about some of the, stuff we talked about, what SMWW has to offer, how does it help you break into the soccer world? I know Gordon talked about his class, the soccer management scouting class, and just any sort of questions between that or Coachella Valley Invitational conference we have, or even our degree programs. I know sometimes if you want to work in college, like there's more avenues than just working pro level, whether the NWSL or the MLS or over in Europe or, wherever it is. I mean, the college route's always a good way to go. They're always looking for people, for scouts, for analytics gurus as, the sport is evolving all around, especially with numbers being advanced and all that. We do have a partnership with Concordia University Chicago. We have a good relationship with them. We waive the application fee, which is about a $200 value. And we also help you get, your application and some of the stuff you need, your books, tuition, financial aid, and all of that, as we have people on staff who work really closely with the registrar's office over there. And so we offer a master's in sports leadership, an MBA in sports management, and a PhD in EDD and sports leadership as well. We have many success stories for those who came early saw on the slide. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Looks like David, do you have a question?
Yeah. Would you guys be going down to the MLS meeting or summit that's in January or February again this year? And if so, what class would that be? Would that be like the FIFA agent certification course, or which class would that be with you guys?
So our CVI, our current soccer conference is going to be the first week of February. Okay. And then our FIFA agent prep course will be starting shortly after.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. David.
Yeah, do you have a question?
Yes. First of all, thank you. And I wanted you guys to thank Gordon and Dr. Lashbrook. This is a great presentation. Do you have a recording and notes that you can send us? And is there going to be like a listing of the people that were on the call that we could reach out to besides you?
Yeah, I know all our doc talks are recorded and they will be sent out to all the registrants within the next couple days. With this being a little bit closer to the weekend, it might be a little bit more early next week, just depends on processing time. But on the other note, we can actually connect directly with you and be able to discuss that.
That's fantastic. I appreciate your time.
If you can email info at smww.com, that'll be good. So
yeah, if you could put that in the text, in the chat rather.
I'll put that in the chat.
Thank
you. You want to wrap it up, Nick?
Yeah. Last call. Does anyone have any other questions about what you heard today? Curious about wanting to get into the soccer industry. I mean, resume redesign service, conferences, getting you connected through informational interviews. And for those who don't know, an informational interview is a great way for you to get connected with someone, not asking for a job, but like, how did you get to the place where you get today, and having that personal conversation with someone in that industry, name dropping Gordon Kljestan's name, gets you access to some people that you may never have been able to reach before. I'm taking a class with SMWW. Would love to take like 10 minutes of your time to ask you about where you're from. So that's just some of the few things we do today. You get a weekly live chat with Dr. Lashbrook as well. as an alum. Then it doesn't just stop when you end the course. It's a lifetime membership. So every Sunday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, he does his chats, and it's worldwide from people across the globe. So come in with your questions, listen to what other people have to say, and that's a really good way for you to be able to kind of build your Rolodex and growth of understanding what it is to get in the sports game. Because all you need to do is get your foot in the industry you want to get in, and then if you work your butt off and know what you're doing and kind of develop into that, you can be able to work around. There's plenty of examples of people who come in as like selling tickets or as a volunteer, and then be able to work their way into the front office. So there's more than one way to skin a cat when it gets into the business world or the sports world. So, but
all right,
there's
guys.
Yep.
Yeah, this was a great session. I see a lot of familiar faces, and hope to see you guys in one of our future courses soon. Mario, I'll be connecting with you as well. Hopefully see you at CVI like the previous couple of years. Keep in touch. And then other than that, guys, again, we're only a call and email away, all right?
All right, thank you.
All right, man.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.